Let's turn our attention now to Atletico Ottawa. We focus on them and we'll take a look at some of their key roster moves. So you see who's in, you see who's out. A lot of movement for them. Drew Becky is retired. He was, their captain, and he was, the face of that squad, and he's moved into a management role. But they've brought a lot of other faces in. Let's focus on a couple of them. So in the forward position, you have Sam Salter and Johnny Dos Santos. Do you think that's enough to offset, Ollie, the loss of Brian Wright and Ballou Tabla?
I'm not sure. On paper, I would have to say no, I don't think so. And that's no slight on Salter and Dos Santos, who are both good players in this league, don't get me wrong. And Salter obviously had a bit of a breakout season last year, but Ballou Tabla was arguably the best player in the league by the season's end. So I don't know that you can even reasonably expect that you're going to get another Ballou Tabla. Maybe you strike gold again and find someone as talented as that. But I think with a player like that, it's always more likely that you're going to have to replace him collectively. So it won't just be those two. They'll hope that Assi can take a step forward on the player we saw. Still a very young player, obviously, at Cavalry last season. Antonoro, the loanee from CF Montreal, I've heard is highly rated. I don't know a ton about him, but I've heard good things. So I think it's going to have to be a collective thing. But it's an interesting team, I think, Atletico Ottawa, because there's not only this need to replace a player who was so decisive for them down the stretch in so many big moments from an attacking perspective, but there's also this appetite there, I think, to play a different style of football, to not be the team that just defends and relies on Ballou Tabla on the counter-attack and Ollie Bassett as well, to come up with a moment that wins you a game. So balancing those two things of losing a player like that while also trying to transition to a more aggressive, adventurous style of play, I think that's going to be a real coaching challenge for Carlos González, who, to be fair, passed everything with flying colours last year. So we'll see how he handles it.
So how does that happen, Ollie? Does he have the horses to do just that? Because I believe that's the intention as well. Carl Lumet comes in, another good, experienced defensive player. I still think they're going to be a pain in the ass to play against. They're going to be difficult to break down. They're going to play to their identity. It's very difficult to change that on the fly. And I thought that last season, it was a little bit pragmatic at times, which was actually a good thing for this group. So is there that consistent push? And what sort of, learning curve? What type of learning curve is there? Will there have to be a little bit of patience? Will this take time? How do they benefit from their preseason training advantage that they have going to train in Madrid? How do they take advantage of that? I think there's a lot of questions about this team. Now there's expectations. Ottawa, full credit, have done an incredible job off the field. Increase in season ticket holders, more and more interest in our nation's capital coming to the club. The club, the fans, the players have all played a big part in that, and it's outstanding to see. But now the expectation, this was a regular season champion. And then there's even more stakes with additional awards being presented in the Canadian Premier League from the get-go next season. The expectation is that they go out and win something again, right? Are they good enough? Are they able to do it in compared to what other top teams in the Canadian Premier League have done? I think that's a legitimate question to ask.
What about the role of the new additions as well? So we have Luke Singh, and this is Noah Verhoeven. I always get him
and Verhoeven.
They got both.
It's back.
You can't go wrong
again.
I know. Well, it's the Verhoeven and the Verhoeven. So Noah is Verhoeven.
Just pretend you're talking about the other one. If you get it wrong, you're safe.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you just got to get pronunciation right. That's what happens when it's too similar in spelling. But Noah Verhoeven, let's talk about him and Luke Singh, the addition of them, and what role you think they're going to play, Ollie.
Yeah, I think that's two good additions. I think this is one thing that good teams do well in the CPL, which is they pick up free agents or players who have maybe been discarded by their old clubs who they think have something to give. I think it's something that the Cavalry in particular have done well over the past couple of seasons. Pacific have done it a little bit as well. Like your ability to have that knowledge of the league to identify guys who may be able to help you, don't come in on necessarily a massive salary, and can give you good minutes is valuable. So I think we've seen things both from Verhoeven, this is his third club now in the CPL. He's still young, but quite an experienced CPL player. And also Luke Singh in a difficult situation last year. I think there's reason to believe that, one, they can contribute straight away and give you pretty reliable minutes. And two, there might still be some upside there as well. Particularly Singh, who came, promising early on with CFC and then found his opportunities diminish a little bit, and then, like I said, was in a really tricky situation in Edmonton last year. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. What I will add, just going back to the attacking conversation as well, they've got a couple of international spots still open. This club is generally, they've got an amazing scouting network, obviously, with Atletico Madrid. They've usually found a real difference maker somewhere in their 3 seasons in the league. Acuna in the first year, Soto in the second year was an excellent player, unfortunately, in a team that struggled. And then obviously Tabla last year as well. So I would speculate maybe that they're not quite done in terms of, those attacking pieces.
Well, Salter's a really intriguing one, but the biggest name isn't any player that came in. It's Ollie, baby, and I'm not talking about Platt. I'm talking about Ollie Bassett. He needs to go back to back. Won the awards last year. Outstanding player, team player. Did a little bit for everything for this club. It was a real feel good story, and you love seeing it being written. But now he's got to do it back to back. His aspiration. He really is kind of the heartbeat of this club in central midfield. I think a lot of questions will be asked and answered over the next couple of months, whether he can perform at that level again this season. He was so good last year. Let's see if he can do it again.
All right, so put a bow on it, Wheels. I mean, what are your expectations for Atletico Ottawa? I mean, do you think that the regular season champions can contend for that again, or do you think they struggle?
They're gonna hate hearing this. They're not Forge. Forge is bringing back their entire. Everyone's chasing Forge, but should Ottawa be a playoff team? Absolutely, they should be. Should they be entertaining to watch? Yes, they should be this season. So let's see how it all comes together. But I have a hard time believing that this isn't a playoff team.
Look, I think a little bit of a drop-off is probably kind of natural and to be expected, to be honest, in terms of the regular season team they were last year, where, they really were riding a lot of momentum in terms of the good feeling, I think, within that club. But the question is, can they be in contention for that title again? And obviously, can they make the playoffs and be in contention for the North Star Shield at the end of it? And look, I was just so impressed with the job Carlos González did, the way he kind of rebuilt that team, that I have to back him more than anything, I think, to put it together and be very competitive again.